Good morning, or whatever time of day it is where you are right now. Today we're going to take a look at solving percent problems. These can be a little bit intimidating if you use the traditional formula that's usually given to you. What we are going to use is a little bit different. It makes life so much simpler. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of things. What we are going to use is this one formula right here. I don't want it to be pink though. We are going to use is over of equals a percentage over 100. Now the blue parts have to stay. So the division lines, the equals, and the 100, you don't get to change those ever. If you change those, you're going to math heck. The ones that you are going to pull out of your problems are the is and the of and the percent. Now, I realize that makes 0 sense. So we're going to do a few of these together. I am going to start with number 1. There we go. Now I have my colors straight. 1 says 30 is 20% of what number? So when I say is over of equals percent over 100, here's what I mean. Right here I have 30 is 20%. That is very clearly my percentage. Then it says of what number? Well, instead of what number, I can use an X. So if I set this up in my formula, is over of equals percent over 100. You fill in the pieces for your proportion and you go from there. So we're going to cross multiply. I get 20x. I'm going to multiply this way. There it is. I get 3,000. So if I want to solve for x, I divide by 20 on both sides because division is the opposite of multiplication. And then I pull up Desmos so I don't make any silly mistakes because I'm convinced I can do math in my head when I really can't. And I find out that the number I'm looking for is 150. So let's try 2. We want is over of equals percent over 100. I'm going to do the hard part. And then I guess I'll help you with the easier part too. What percent of 30 is 3? Here's my is. Here's my of. And then it says what percent? Well, that's x percent. So x goes in my percent spot. I'm going to cross multiply. I get 30x equals 300. 30 is multiplied by x, so to undo that multiplication, I need to divide. That will make my 30s divide out. And x is 10. You could go put that in the calculator if you needed to. Totally fine. No judgment on my end because I totally stink at mental math. So x equals 10 means that 10% of 30 is 3. If you wanted to check it and you wanted to find 10% of 30, that means I go to my calculator and I multiply 30 by 0.1 and I get 3. Here we go again. 75% of 200 is what number? So I'm going to set up my proportion. And I'm going to pick out my pieces. I have a percentage right off the bat this time. 75%, so 75 goes in the percent spot. Of 200, so 200 goes in the of spot, but it should be a different color. One day I will get my life together, but it is not today. I did it again. There we go. Now I need my is. Is what number? That's our x. So x goes in the is spot. So I'm going to multiply 200 times 75. It helps when you get all of the zeros. So I get 15,000 equals 100x. I want to get x by itself. 100 is multiplied by x, so my inverse operation, my opposite operation is 100. So my 100s divide out. And x is 15,000 divided by 100. That is 150. Yes. If you want to check it, you can go over to your calculator. To find 75% of 200, we need to multiply 200 times 0.75, and you get 150. Let's do one more. That's finding another percent. We've done one with an of and an is. I think we've done one with all of the places. My guess is if I had to pick one of these that would make you guys a little bit uncomfortable, it might be number 5 because it looks like it has really big numbers. So we'll go down to 5. What is? So my is x. Of 1,080, so my of is 1,080. And my percent is 80. So I cross multiply. And I get 100x equals $86,400. Just because it's a big number, don't let it spook you. Treat it just like you would any other proportion. We want to undo the multiplication that's between the 100 and the x, so we're going to use the opposite operation, division, to divide by 100. That is going to leave us with an x on the left and an 864 on the right. If you want to check it, we can come over to Desmos and we can find 80%, so 0.80 times 1,080, and you get 864. So let's run down to some word problems because everybody hates word problems. So let's see if we can make them a little less scary. Stephen earned $45,000 last year. 7.65% of his salary went toward FICA. If you are unfamiliar with FICA, that is money from your salary that gets put into Social Security and Medicare for when you retire, in the event that you actually ever get to retire and not work until you die. So what we are really asking, if we want to know how much money he paid into FICA, the real question is, what is 7.65% of 45,000? If we can answer that question, we determine how much he paid into FICA that year. So I'm going to set up our proportion. Well, we have our percentage. It is staring us in the face right there. So that's going to be 7.65. Now it says, what is? Well, X. X is. And our of is 45,000. So just like before, I'm going to cross multiply. When I do, I end up with 100x is equal to 45,000 times 7.65. So 100x is equal to 344,250. I want to undo the multiplication again. So 7.65% of 45,000. I want you to know you are always welcome to go to the calculator. If you don't want to type in your last answer, you can hit the little answer button. It's down by the plus sign, and it'll bring in your original answer. So this guy, what's his name? Stephen. Stephen is going to have $3,442.50 out of his paycheck for the year go into a retirement or go toward FICA taxes. Theoretically, he'll get it back when he retires. So now here's Joe. And poor Joe missed the tax-free weekend when buying clothes for his kids. Now he has to pay sales tax on school clothes for 6 kids. He should have been paying attention and gone to the tax-free weekend. but he didn't. So now we need to figure out how much he pays total if he spent, the price tags add up to $236.78, and the sales tax is 8.25%. So let's see if we can change this into a question we need to answer and a question we know how to answer. It looks like we need to do 2 steps. The first thing we need to think about is how are we going to find his total? Well, when you go to the register to make a purchase, your total is the price plus the amount of sales tax. So if we can find the amount of the sales tax, we can find the total price. To find the total amount of sales tax, we need to answer the question, what is 8.25% of $236.78? And with that, I need to pause and go give an exam, so I will be back.